Well, good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's exciting to be here today, and I'm just privileged and honored to be able to introduce Chris Smith for the call today. We've been business partners and, more importantly, friends for over 15 years now, have mutual respect for each other. Chris is a very successful business owner and probably one of the smartest people I know when it comes to analyzing things and giving his input on things. But most importantly, he's a man of God, youth minister. I've watched him and his wife. They have 4 boys. I've watched how they raise their children and lead their family, walk the walk, not just talk it, they walk it. And I'm excited to introduce Chris here from Oklahoma, and I'll let him take it away for this morning.
Well, Patty, thank you so very much for all those kind words. And, we always try to, edify the person that we're introducing or whatever. But, man, smartest person analyzing and giving feedback on things. I may have turned red over here or something. I don't know. I appreciate that so much, Patty. So we're in the book today, and it's 100 Ways to Motivate Yourself and Change Your Life Forever by Steve Chandler. Loving this book, and we went through this book several years ago. I write the date next to the chapters that I actually do, and I'm really disappointed because I'm back in 2019, the last time we went through this book. I must have forgot to do it on this chapter because I know that I've read this chapter before, but I wrote today's date on it. So it's chapter 26. It's Run Towards Your Fear. I am also very much so looking forward to this one, and it's real close to my own personal testimony on the particular subject he uses to illustrate this running towards your fear. So the world's best kept secret is what is on the other side of your fear. There is some... excuse me. I'm going to start over because I have something in my eye. Come on. Okay, here we go. The world's best kept secret is what is on the other side of your fear. There is something safe and beneficial waiting for you. If you pass through even a thin curtain of fear, you'll increase your confidence and have in your ability to create life. General Patton said, "Fear kills more people than death. Death kills us once, and we usually don't even know it. But fear kills us over and over again, subtly at times and brutally at others. But if we keep trying to avoid our fears, they will chase us down like persistent dogs. The worst thing we can do is close our eyes and pretend they don't exist." Fear and pain, says psychologist Nathaniel Branden, should be treated as signals to not to close our eyes, but to open them wider. By closing our eyes, we end up in the darkest of comfort zones, buried alive. Janis Joplin's biography, which chronicled her death from alcohol and drug abuse, was aptly titled Buried Alive. To Janis, as to many similarly troubled people, alcohol provides an artificial and tragically temporary antidote to fear. It is no accident that in the old frontier days, the nickname for whiskey was false courage. There was a time in my life, not too many years ago, when my greatest fear of all was public speaking. It didn't even help that fear of speaking in front of people is people's number one fear, or even greater than the fear of death. The fact once caused comedian Jerry Seinfeld to point out that most people would rather be in the coffin than delivering the eulogy. For me, it ran deeper than that. As a child, I could not give an oral book report. I pleaded with the teacher to let me off the hook. I would offer to do 2 or even 3 written reports if I didn't have to do the oral one. Yet as life went on, I wanted to be a public speaker more than anything. My dream was to teach people everywhere to learn the ideas that led to self-motivation, the ideas that I had learned. But how could I ever do this if stage fright left me frozen with fear? Then one day, I was driving in Phoenix, flipping through the radio stations, looking for good music. I accidentally happened upon a religious station where a hysterical preacher was yelling, "Run towards your fear! Run right at it!" I hasted to change the station, but it was too late. Deep down, I knew that I had just heard something I needed to hear. No matter what station I turned it to, All I could hear was that madman's words, "Run towards your fear." The next day, I still couldn't get it out of my mind. So I called a friend of mine that was an actress. I asked her to help me get into the acting class she had told me about. I told her I thought I was ready to overcome my fear of performing in front of people. Although I lived in a high state of anxiety the first few weeks of the class, there was no other way around my fear. There was no real way to run from it any longer, because the more I ran, the more pervasive it got. I knew I had to turn around and run towards the fear, or I would never pass through it. Emerson once said, "The greatest part of courage is having done it before." And that soon became true of my speaking in public. Fear of doing it can only be cured by doing it. And I got that one underlined. Fear of doing it can only be cured by doing it. And soon my confidence was built by doing it again and again. The rush we get after running through the waterfall of fear is the most energizing feeling in the world. If you are ever in an unmotivated mood, find something you fear and do it, and watch what happens. So that is the chapter. I will tell you, one of my fears was speaking in front of people. I was in this industry for about, well, it was probably only a couple months. It was probably about 3-4 months in. I had a guy that I had enrolled with a guy, and they would come over and do presentations at my house, kind of, help me do the meeting, if you will. And it was about our 4th or 5th meeting that we were having. And the second guy up in my business that had been doing the meetings, he said, "Hey, you're such a good speaker. You're so excited about all this. Next week, you need to get up there and do part of the presentation. If you just get up and do the first part, I'll do the second part. The first part was a little simpler and easier and short. If you just do that part, I'll go ahead and close it up." And I tell you what, I spent the next week in tremendous fear, but the momentum of our business was already in motion, so I couldn't even, not invite people, if you will. I had people inviting people, and I think we ended up with, like 30 people, 25 people, something like that in my living room the next week. And they were all people I knew. They were people that were my family, my friends, people I worked with. So all people that I knew, people that had been there at the meeting the week before, and then they had brought a couple others, and we'd had others there or whatever. But I get up in front of the room, and he had brought a projector screen over to put on top of my short kind of entertainment center, and had it rolled up, and a projector pointed at it. And when I get up in front of my friends and family to speak, my voice is cracking. There's tears in my voice. I don't know if y'all know what that means, but there are literally tears in my voice, and there's little ones rolling out the corner of my eyes. My anxiety is so high, I can't hardly speak. And as I start to speak and welcome my friends and family that I've talked to all of them my whole life, as I try to welcome them all to my house and to start the presentation, I slightly put my hand on my entertainment center and kind of lean on it a bit. And I don't know what I did, but when I did, the projector just, like, it was one of those pull down ones that you kind of hook, and it just rolled up like you see in a movie or something, like, and like rolls over and crack. And I like, guys, I literally ran out of the room with tears in my eyes. Like, I'm a grown man, 20-something years old, and I am horribly terrified. The guy, Jack, came in there, and he's like, "Chris, are you all right? Come on, man, let's get back in here. It's all right. Things happen." And I'm like, "Dude, I can't do it. I can't. You're just going to have to do it." And he went in there and finished the meeting. I didn't speak again in front of a room for the next couple of years. And I got introduced to my mentor, Andy, and he's doing these presentations at this office that we have to do these. And he just taught me the same thing, to just run through your fear, to approach it, to go through it, to make it happen. And what he taught me to do was to do it in my head. He said, "Chris, you're going to do it next week. You're going to do the first part. I'll do the last part." This whole same story. And but what he did that changed everything is he said, "Chris, as long as you're not doing it for the first time, it'll be easy." So what he taught me to do was to play me doing it in my head, to rehearse it, to practice it, to do it in my head over and over and over. I was delivering pizzas at the time, and I remember I would sit there and just do it over and over and over. As I was driving the car, I'd get home, I'd do the I knew it. I memorized. I knew how to do it. I was confident about the information, just not the talking in front of people. So I would close my eyes and I would picture talking to the room. I had the room memorized and what it looked like, and I would even tell the little jokes and things in the presentation. And all that I can tell you is by the time the week came and I got up in front of the room to do it, my knees were still knocking, my voice still had tears in it, but I was able to push through it and go through it. And when I got done, just like the book said, I was so full of endorphins and excitement. It became something I liked and I enjoyed, and I got addicted to the fear, kind of like riding a roller coaster. I got addicted to that feeling that it gave me to be scared, and I love speaking in front of people today. It's still hard. My knees still knock. I still got tears in my voice sometimes, but I love doing it. So run through your fear, face your fears, just do it. Patty, I'll turn it over to you.
Great word. And like I said, this is one of my favorite chapters too, because I was one of those people, that probably would rather die than get up in front of people and talk. And it's like, I tried it. I mean, like I got up, thought, I ran for county treasurer, and it was because I wanted the job and I, was intrigued by it, but the politics of it, I wasn't prepared for that when I had to get up in front of people and speak. And I was like you, the first time I got in front of people, and it was peers that I knew, like 20 people at a senior synod, and I basically froze up and said, I can't do this. And, these people were very understanding, and afterwards they were like, you can do it, you're just beginning. And then I learned, I got pretty good. I like to debate a little bit, so I would let the incumbent treasurer, if they'd say, who wants to go first, I found out if I let her go, then I'd know what to rebuttal or what to say. But then I got into my own business, and I was like Chris. I mean, I like to talk to people, prospects on the phone, because I didn't have to get up in front of people. If they told me no, they rejected me. It was like I didn't know these people. It was other people, and then one day I got asked to be doing a phone call, like this, and I remember I literally had to mute the phone and throw up in the trash can. My son was in the house, and he was like, Mom, what's wrong with you? Because I knew what I was doing. And it was a journey. But, I just, kind of learned, like if I can just change one person's life. But that really, years later, I mean, I spoke a lot of times. I was like Chris, scared to death to get up in front of people. And then a few years ago, I remember I was asked to get on stage and talk about something, and there was a lot of pressure. They were like, close this out, do well at this. And I was back in the back of the room, just praying before I went up, and I said, God, just if I can change one person's life, then I'll succeed. Just help me through this, because I was petrified. I mean, there was 2,000 or 3,000 people there. I was petrified. And I remember same person, Andy Dooley, came up to me, and he said, what can I do? Like, he could tell I was shaking. And I was like, I'm scared, just pray. And he goes, Patty, he goes, Tony Robbins, who most of us know Tony Robbins, speaks in front of hundreds of millions of people. And he said if he can just get in front of, help one person, then he succeeded. And it confirmed my prayer. And so that's what, now when I get up in front of people, or even, sometimes that fear of picking up the phone for some people, it's like an elephant that, or to dial that one number is like the weight of an elephant on a cell phone now, just to push a number. But if you could just push it and push through it and realize you can change somebody's life, and we're out there to help people, it can make a huge difference. So I'll throw it back to you, Chris, and let you close it out.
Well, you're exactly right. What you want to accomplish and what you're called to do and what you're on mission to do, if it's important to you, it will outweigh the fear. There's all kinds of stories of mamas, getting into kung fu fights with bears if it's to stand between them and their child, or lift in a car. There's all these crazy stories. Sometimes what you want, if it's more important than what you fear, you'll blast through it. And you just got to know that. You got to want it bad enough. You got to just fight through it, push through it. And it's hard, it's challenging. You heard Patty and my stories. It's not easy. No one said it's easy. No one said just, but if you want what you want bad enough, and Patty used the motivation of helping someone, and because that was her drive, her love language, her desire was to help. So that's what she needed. She needed to remind herself of what she was trying to accomplish and do, and that's another step that the book actually didn't mention today. It's that wanting, using that to fuel you through that pushing through, using that as a fuel to do what you need to do. So, Patty, I think it's great. Thank you very much. Enjoy being on the call. Everybody remember, we do these calls Monday through Friday. We have different speakers do them every single day so you can experience a different personality. And we just invite you to be back for the rest of the week, and we will see you next time. So with that, Patty, you can unmute the lines and let everybody say goodbye to us.
Hey, good job, guys.
Hey, thank you, Bob.
Have a great day.